Hello and welcome to The Stinger, a superfan's guide to the latest in Marvel, Star Wars, and other nerd entertainment. Joining me on today's episode, a familiar face indeed. He's got a whole line, a murderer's row of Samuel L. Jackson quotes fired up for us today. It is Trent Neely. How we doing, Trent?
Honey, where's my podcast episode?
Yes. Oh, yes. I love it. Oh, that's so good. Oh, man. Trent, it's great to have you here. And to all you listening, it's great to have you here as well. We have a unique episode for you today. As always, you can subscribe to us on any podcasting platform, wherever you get your podcasts. Find The Stinger. And if you want to follow us on social media, follow us on social media at The Stinger Pod on Facebook, on Instagram, on Threads. Hey, all you new Threads users, go find The Stinger. And coming soon, I just want to let y'all know, check out TikTok. And so find us on social media. All right, Trent, we are here today with a new addition into the Stinger Rolodex of episodes. So we're introducing a new topic today, and that is Hall of Fame. So we had an idea that there is so much that we've obviously covered that in the past year and a half or so that we've been doing this podcast of new content, new shows, new movies. But there's so much that we haven't talked about because they came out years and years ago. So we've got a new format for you, so to speak, and that is called a Hall of Fame episode. So what that's going to entail is we will sift through movies, television shows, characters, even actors, as you will see today, from across fandom history that we would deem worthy of a Hall of Fame induction. And then we will spend the episode kind of talking about our favorite qualities and moments and memories of whatever the topic is. And then at the end, we can discuss the legacy of the film or of the actor and decide once and for all, is this thing or person worthy of the Stinger Hall of Fame? And that's what we're here to do today. So Trent, what you thinking about this Hall of Fame genre that we were dipping our toes into?
No, I'm liking it. As you said, we try to, with this podcast, stay up to date on what's current, but there's a lot of decades of pop culture that's happened.
Yes.
Really, if we're talking the modern blockbuster era, everything from sort of the mid '70s onward, and so there's plenty of movies, characters, performances, directors, just so many things that we have not been able to talk about in depth here that I'm excited we get to, if not go in depth on everything, highlight some stuff that maybe people are also fans of that we haven't talked about yet.
Absolutely. I know when we were talking about this idea, there were like a million things that came to mind, because there's so much that we could potentially cover here. So we're not going to give away too much, but if there's one movie, show, actor, or character where you're like, this is hands down in Trent Neely's Hall of Fame, and I'm gonna bring it to the table, what would it be?
I mean, I feel like just because of what happened with him saving movie theaters, last year, I think we got to do a deep respect on Tommy Cruise, America's savior of cinema, and just all the insane movies that he's done, both action but otherwise. He's worked with some of the best directors just in general. He's worked with Stanley Kubrick and Francis Ford Coppola and all these heavy hitters over his 40-year career or whatever it's been at this point. And so yeah, I would love at some point to do a deep dive on good old Tommy C.
Okay, that's interesting because I wouldn't have thought that, but it does make sense for the Trent Neely Hall of Fame. Mm-hmm. And that's why we got to get our diverse perspectives. I also Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1 is out right now. That seems like perfect timing. Who knows? We might get some Tommy C content on the podcast sooner than we think.
Sooner than you think.
Have you seen Mission Impossible yet, by the way?
Not yet. I'm really hoping some point this week or this weekend to make it out. I'm hearing great things. I saw John's review on Letterboxd and the rating was high.
Okay. Friend of the podcast, John Battison, rating Mission Impossible high. I'm excited to see it too. I saw a video of Tom Cruise today doing one of his stunts where he drove a bike off a cliff
Yep.
and just drove it off a cliff. Literally. No strings attached. I don't know what was happening. It was terrifying. I just I'll ISO real quick and say if I had to pick one,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm sure this will be an episode later on, first thing that comes to mind is Empire Strikes Back.
Mm.
I think it's what allows everything we talk about now to exist.
Yeah.
So we'll see if we get there one day. But today we are talking about Samuel L. Jackson. We thought with the current running of Secret Invasion on Disney Plus, and as this being not necessarily Samuel L. Jackson's last appearance as Nick Fury, but it's felt like a moment to celebrate Samuel L. Jackson for all that he's accomplished, not only as an actor, but particularly in fandom. You know, this Stinger Hall of Fame is going to celebrate things in fandom and nerd entertainment, and Samuel L. Jackson as an actor is kind of a cornerstone of what I think a a fan of this stuff really like pictures when they think about the movies and moments they adore. And so to get us started, the brief intro on Samuel L. Jackson, in case you need one, I don't think you should, but 200 projects listed on IMDb. He's got one Oscar nomination. We'll talk about that later. And if you were to pool all of the money that Sam Jackson has made, all of his, not Sam Jackson himself, but all of the movies that he's been in has made, it's $27 billion at the box office. That is an astounding number. I had no
27
idea.
billion.
That blows my mind, Trent. That's
Yeah, no,
that's
I
wild.
like I looked that up. I was trying to see if I could find it, and multiple, like not one publication, multiple sites had it listed in that range. That was sort of the mean range. It could be higher, it could be lower, but yeah, somewhere in the
Gosh,
multi billions from one man. But again, if you've been in 200 projects, and remember that one of those projects alone is like the second highest grossing movie of all time with
that's true.
Endgame.
That's true.
So
Yep.
so yeah, no, it's impressive. The dude says he just loves to act, and clearly, I mean, because he was a late bloomer in acting. I think he didn't start acting in movies and TV till his like mid 30s. So the fact that
Oh my
only for
gosh.
for a chunk of his life to already have 200 projects racked up and 27 billion is super impressive.
It's incredible. It's unlike anything we've seen from an actor too, because we'll talk about it more later, but Samuel Jackson just like he's an entertainer. And so
Yes,
he's been in so many of these movies that truly fill theaters around the
yes.
world, and that's really fun. So, Trent, why don't you tell us about some of his most iconic roles? What do we know Samuel L. Jackson for?
Right. I mean, fans of this podcast and fans of fandom, obviously the first things they're going to think of Nick Fury in the MCU. Been there
Oh
since the
yeah.
beginning, right? It was the post-credit scene in Iron Man 1,
Oh
the
yeah.
OG that set up, the tease to this whole broad MCU before it was an MCU. We have Mace Windu in the Star Wars prequels. We got Jules Winfield in Pulp Fiction. Steven in Django Unchained. Lots of great performances when he teams up with Tarantino.
Yes.
Frozone in The Incredibles,
Yes.
arguably one of the coolest superheroes to ever exist. Frozone,
Yes. No pun intended.
absolutely no pun intended. Shaft in the Shaft reboot. One of my favorite Sam Jackson performances and underrated superhero movies ever. Elijah Price in Unbreakable and Glass. Unbreakable, truly in
Oh,
like my top 10
okay.
superhero movies of all time. Um,
Oh,
yes, it's
that's
great.
high.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Um,
I'm gonna have you elaborate on that at a later point.
Yes, absolutely. I'm so glad you put this on here. Coach Carter and Coach Carter.
Yes.
My favorite movie about basketball. I know everybody loves Hoosiers, and Hoosiers is good, but
Oh.
Coach Carter has the basketball movie prize for my money. What else we got here? We got Valentine and Kingsman: The Secret Service, a movie that I feel like people still don't appreciate for how awesome it is to this day.
That's
I
true.
tell everyone I can to watch it. Zeus and Die Hard with a Vengeance, underrated action sequel. Die Hard with a
Yeah.
Vengeance is so
Yeah.
good in it. I forgot literally till I was doing research for this podcast and rewatching this movie with Emily and Matt that he is in Jurassic Park. People, like, it's a
Yes.
very brief role, but he is 100% in Jurassic Park. Arnold in Jurassic Park, and then Preston Packard in Kong Skull Island, the MonsterVerse from Legendary Pictures a couple years ago, like 2017. And
That's right.
that's just all the big blockbuster stuff. Obviously, he's collaborated with Tarantino. I said a bunch
Yep.
of times. He's collaborated with Spike Lee a ton as well. Done great work with him. So I know that this is not a complete summary by any means, but this is sort of the big stuff that I feel like movie fans would easily know him from.
Yeah, absolutely. This is an astounding list. I mean, this is, and just hearing you talk through all of these iconic movies, and you can easily picture Sam Jackson in basically all of these movies.
Yes.
It's not easy to forget him as a performer in all of these movies. One that I did forget about, that I was doing some research earlier today in preparation. He's in Coming to America.
I actually have never seen that. So
Really, really
that movie has
great
slipped under my
movie.
radar.
Eddie Murphy in the peak of his powers, and Samuel Jackson has a super minor role in that movie, but it's great. Um, so let's talk about why we know Samuel Jackson is a great actor, right? We're talking about all these iconic moments that he has from throughout film history. But like, what makes his case as an icon in fandom? Because like we said, this Hall of Fame series that we're going to do, it's going to be covering a lot more than just actors. So what makes Samuel Jackson stand head and shoulders above the rest to be recognized in like a fandom Hall of Fame, so to speak? So to me, what I felt was, I'm pulling two quotes here from Samuel Jackson, and this is from, I think, pretty recently, him talking about his place in pop culture and his place as an actor. And an interview was asking him about awards, and his response is, "I'm not doing statue chasing movies. You know, if you do this movie, you'll win an Oscar. No thanks. I'd rather be Nick Fury or having fun being Mace Windu with a lightsaber in their hand." And I just I just found that quote so like affirming as a fan, you know, like we've got to say like this actor Samuel Jackson, who's one of the greatest to ever do it and is so iconic, and his has played these roles, iconic roles, for years, could easily say, hey, you know what, I'm at the end of my career, I would like to build my trophy case a little bit. And he finds pure joy in like in doing these entertaining roles. Another quote of his um along these lines is, he says, I'm the guy who does the lines that people see on t-shirts. There's actors who go their whole careers and no one can quote a line they said in a movie. People go to watch my movies to see how crazy I'm going to be or how many times I would say MFer, whatever gets them in seats. And I just like, again, that's so Samuel Jackson. That's
Mm-hmm.
why we go watch him in the theater, is it not, Trent?
No, it's 100% why. And no, I love that quote where he says like I just want to be in movies that like I loved when I was a kid and that puts people in theaters because
Yes.
so often like look, I was a film major in college. I've seen a
Yeah.
lot of older movies and indie movies and the high art. I've seen Citizen Kane. But like if we're being real, for 99% of the movie watching population, even if your tastes evolve to that more indie or art stuff, the movies that make you fall in love with movies are the crowd pleasers. It is the
Yeah.
Star Wars. It is the Disney stuff. It is Jurassic Park. And so I love that Samuel Jackson, despite receiving acclaim and status and all these things, he doesn't lose sight of the fact that like movies are fun and he just wants to have fun. In fact, I think I read a story one time that he I don't know if it's fair to say he doesn't care if the movie's good or bad, but he loves acting so much
Mm-hmm.
that like he'll take the part just because he loves literally like the literal mechanical process. Like I read one time that he took a role in a movie set in Finland. Like it was going to have no awareness in the U.S. whatsoever, but like they were offering him the role of the president of the United States, and he's like, "Well, I've never been the president before, so like if you guys are going to let me do that, like I'll sign on for sure."
That's amazing. I love that. Oh, that's so cool. And I think also it can be seen within the Marvel universe now. I've been watching a lot of the interviews of the cast of Secret Invasion.
Mm-hmm.
Um and I think it's really cool that point you just made about why he chose to do this specific movie, because he got to be the president of the United States, and
Yeah.
when is he going to do that again, right? He was talking with the cast Secret Invasion, and they talk about the scene where Nick Fury and Rhodey confront each other early in this Secret Invasion show, and him and Don Cheadle's just saw it as a moment where they're like, wait, how many times have we seen two black actors on screen together in the MCU? Like, actually, not that many. And their two characters are two of the most important characters in the MCU, and that's the sway and power that Samuel Jackson has, I think, in the industry. And he's in this Secret Invasion show, which we could talk about later on how successful or unsuccessful it is, but like he's got this major character in the MCU, and he's like, hey, you know what? Like, I don't know what story you have, but I think it's important we put these two black characters on screen together. And like, I'm going to do that. That's what I want to see. And then he does it. And he like executes the vision. So yeah, I love hearing these kind of stories about him.
Yeah.
He's truly like, he is pop culture royalty, I feel like.
Yeah. I think arguably, like, not to harp on it, but like I feel like except for maybe Tom Cruise, like there is nobody that like you associate more with just pure popcorn entertainment. Like
Yeah.
everyone in America like loves at least a portion of this person's work.
Yes.
I feel
Yes.
like it really is like him, Tom Cruise, Tom Hanks. Like,
Oh yeah. That's a good trio right there, actually. Yeah. Yeah. You're right. They might be the holy trinity of popcorn movies. You know what I mean? Like that. I think that's it.
yeah,
Um. So let's talk about how Samuel Jackson got to this point in his career as being this larger than life presence in these big major roles. Trent, how did Samuel Jackson become Nick Fury?
the Nick Fury story is one of the best stories I've ever heard. So apparently, in 2002, 6 years before the official launch of the MCU, um, writer Mark Millar and Brian Hitch were rebooting the Avengers for Marvel Comics and the Ultimates. And Samuel Jackson just happened to be in a comic book shop and saw that they used his likeness as the inspiration and basis for Nick Fury. And so he calls his agent up and he's like, "Hey, did we like consent to my image being used as the inspiration here?" And the agent was like, "I don't think so. That's weird." And like Samuel Jackson's like, "Well, oh, let me like talk to Marvel about this." And then somewhere fashion, it ends up being that Feige just asked to meet with him directly. And he's like, "Well, hey, instead of compensating you for a comic book, how about I just sign you to a 9 picture deal with the MCU, this like,
Gosh.
cinematic universe we're trying to start?" And Samuel Jackson, like I said, just because he loves acting, he's like, "Sure, why not?" And it all starts with that Iron Man cameo, and then from
Yes.
there,
And the rest is history. I love that story so much. Like, again, the power that he has to be like, why'd you make this character after me? And it turns into a 9 picture deal is just unheard of. And this thought came to mind as we were preparing for this episode. But like, he calls Kevin Feige, and Kevin Feige's like, yes, we're gonna make you Nick Fury. What, Trent, honestly, like, what happens if Samuel Jackson is not Nick Fury? Like, can you picture anyone else in that role?
no, because it's the thing of when you have these larger than life characters and like these, especially like larger than life actors too, where like Robert Downey Jr.'s Tony Stark is such a charismatic and like commanding force in his own right. It's like,
Yeah.
what list of actors can you think of that like Tony Stark would actually like back off from and respect if like he was
Yes.
talking? And so I think Samuel Jackson's like on a very short list of people who actually could flex authority over these larger than life, literal, mythical people.
Yeah.
And so, no, I mean, could you find other people? Could I think of maybe some people? Like, yes, but like, Sam Jackson's definitely on that short list. And I think it easily that first Avengers movie especially could feel a lot hokier if you don't buy
Yeah.
that that's that Sam Jackson energy that Nick Fury really is this harsh spy who has secrets and actually has to have like a lot of levels he's operating on in that
Hmm.
first Avengers movie. I think he doesn't actually get enough credit for how good that performance is.
Yeah. I agree. I don't think he does get enough credit. And I couldn't answer this question really. I don't know if you could replace him as Nick Fury ever. We're in an era now where We have a new Captain America. We've seen new versions of other characters. We saw Natalie Portman play Thor. We've seen these heroes get embodied by other actors, and I don't know if they could do that with Nick Fury. The
Mhm.
fact that his character in the comics is literally based off Samuel L. Jackson just goes to show, like, I don't know if anyone else could do it. He is Nick Fury. They go hand in hand now. And so I'm typically of the opinion with comic book characters that, yes, like, recast, like, the characters are the characters, and like, it's okay if we've had 3 different Spider-Men, and they've
Mhm.
all been good in their own way.
Right.
But Nick Fury, I don't know. I don't know if I'll ever be able to see someone else other than Sam Jackson
Yeah,
as Nick Fury.
it would definitely be a change. I think if whoever replaced him or rebooted him, you would have to approach that character completely
Oh,
differently to
yes.
not
Yep.
even draw a comparison. I think, yeah.
Yeah, it's got to be a completely new take. All right, let's go to the stat sheet. This is our category where we are going to tally all of the awards and nominations that Samuel L. Jackson has accrued throughout his career. He's got 1 Oscar, which I did not know. I don't know if you knew this, Trent, but he got an honorary award from the Academy last year.
I vaguely remember that, but yeah, he did. Yes, I do
I
vaguely remember that now, but I forgot that at the time.
I told yeah, that one slipped my mind when I was researching. But I feel like what most people remember is that he was nominated for Best Supporting Actor for Pulp Fiction.
Hmm.
That is probably the award that he's going to be most associated with, even though he didn't win it. It was the nomination for an Oscar that he's probably going to be most known for. Then
Yeah.
two other ones that you can't deny. He's got 2 other trophies. He's got 1 BAFTA award for Jackie Brown, and then he was also he's got 1 Cannes Film Festival award for Best Actor for Jungle Fever. Um, those are the awards, but like we said, his movies have amassed a massive amount of money, right? So look at his. I went on Rotten Tomatoes and looked at his page. Some of his highest rated movies are The Avengers, Jurassic Park. Again, it's a tiny role, but he was in one of the pinnacle movies in pop culture. You've got Spider-Man: Far From Home, a very highly rated movie on Rotten Tomatoes, which is kind of surprising to me.
Interesting.
And then you got The Incredibles. Those were among the highest rated movies that Samuel Jackson has been in. Obviously, Avengers Endgame and Avengers. Well, actually, no, just Avengers Endgame. He's only in the post credit scene of Infinity War.
Yeah.
That one is up there as well. Some of his lowest rated movies, because we can't deny that not everything was a hit. Yes, we do have to include Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones. Those were weighing down his ranking, as well as Glass and Shaft. The critics didn't love those 2 movies, but Glass is the sequel to Unbreakable. Is that
Yeah. So
correct?
it was Unbreakable, and then if you remember the movie Split with James
Yes,
McAvoy,
that's right.
at the
That's
very
right.
end of Split, Split's actually revealed to be a stealth sequel to Unbreakable, and then Glass
That's right.
like wraps up
Glass is the
both
next one.
Unbreakable and Split. Yeah.
Yes, I do remember that now. Um, okay, this is where we get to my favorite part of today's episode, Trent. We are going to do a little draft. You know, it wouldn't really be a Stinger episode if we didn't do some kind of draft. And
Hmm.
so we are including a draft in here. And the rules are me and Trent are going to go back and forth, and we are going to draft each 3 of our favorite Samuel Jackson scenes from across movie history. Now, we may pick something that doesn't quite fit into the fandom category, but we're talking about Samuel Jackson here. So the net casts very, very wide. And honestly, even his non-fandom movies are so big in pop culture that we feel like it fits. So Trent, I am going to flip a coin or something resembling a coin over here. Would you like heads or tails to see if you draft first?
Tails all day, baby. It's
Tails
always
all day?
tails.
All right. Let's try that again. It was tails. It was tails. Way to go, Trent. You want to pick first?
I will pick first. All
All right,
right.
let's do it.
So I feel like since it's the first one, you got to take something that would be high on the board.
Right.
Um, and so I feel like for fandom stuff and for the two of us, that has to be a Nick Fury scene. And I
Yep.
feel like the Nick Fury scene that I think about the most is the scene where he's trying to escape from the corrupt police officers in
Oh,
the Winter
yes.
Soldier. That whole car chase, which starts out great because the cops pull alongside him and are just staring at him, and he says like, "You want to see my lease?" Um, and
Yes.
then like he realizes what's happening, and he's like, "Okay, cars has to drive itself." And then there's that great moment where like the battering ram thing's knocking on the window, and the car's like, "Do you want to deploy countermeasures?" And he's like, "No, not yet. Wait till the window integrity goes down." And then it goes down at the last second, and he just pulls out like
Yes.
a minigun and a rocket launcher from his center console. That's one of my. I think that's a really underrated MCU action set piece. I think it's really well constructed by the
Hmm.
Russos, and Sam Jackson sells like the cool of Nick Fury there, the tactical thinking, but also he does get hurt in that fight, and that's one of the first times you're like, oh yeah, he is still a real person
Yeah.
who can
Yeah.
get hurt. So yeah, I think that has to be my first pick here.
What an excellent pick. Winter Soldier is just such a good movie.
It's so good.
Oh my gosh, such a good movie. And I think why it's so good is like they actually finally let Nick Fury some time to shine. Let him cook as a Winter Soldier's so good because you get so much hand-to-hand combat. You know, for superheroes, it's always exaggerated with CGI.
Hmm.
And Winter Soldier just pairs everything down and is it's brutal. And that allows for Nick Fury to actually shine in a moment like this. Um, Great pick, Trent. I am coming with another Nick Fury selection. I can't let this one pass up. It just has to be chosen in this draft. So I am going to pick the post-credit scene in Iron Man, the original Iron Man.
Mm.
The post-credit scene to start it all. Literally now Super Mario Brothers has a post-credit scene because I think because of this moment in the first Iron Man movie, it set off a whole connected universe within the Marvel Cinematic Universe for the first time. Nick Fury shows up in Tony Stark's apartment and he says the words, the Avengers Initiative. And
Mm.
crowds everywhere, if they stayed, went absolutely bonkers. This is not just one of the best Sam Jackson moments. This is one of the best moments in pop culture history. This changed the course of movie making, in my opinion. I have to pick the Iron Man 1 post credit scene.
I love it. I love it. It's got to be mentioned.
It's got to. All right, Trent. That brings it back to you.
All right, so I think we got to go for another iconic Samuel L. Jackson scene and performance. A
Okay.
scene so iconic that even though it's only 2 minutes and it's not really related to the plot, it kind of became the most famous scene from this entire movie. I'm talking "Where Is My Super Suit" from The
Oh
Incredibles.
yes.
I mean, I don't think modern people can appreciate that. Like when that moment happened, theaters were losing it. Like this whole thing where it's set up so great because Frozen's like putting on his cologne for the day, like he's about to have date night with the wife, and then he sees that this robot is destroying the city in his window behind him, and he's like, "Oh, I gotta suit up," and he hits his remote button. Super suit's not there. And he's like, "Where is my super suit?" It's the typical marriage thing. Where's that thing that I last saw 10 minutes ago? And his wife's like, "What?" And he's like, "Where's the super suit?" And she's like, "No, you can't go anywhere. Like my evening tonight's in danger." And he's like, "But what about the greater good?" And she says, "I'm the greatest good you are ever gonna get."
Yes.
And literally,
Yes.
that scene became so iconic that more than the great action that Brad Bird created for that movie, more than the like costumes or anything, you just heard people quoting like, "Where's my super suit?" for
Yes.
years. Like that scene transcended the movie itself.
It did. Yes.
So I feel like that has to be in there. I would feel guilty if I didn't put that one on there.
Oh yeah, you can't just let that pass up. No, not at all. Excellent pick, Trent. Honestly, this would have been my next pick. So you snatched it up in front of me. It's just an iconic moment that we just cannot forget that moment. I am going with my second pick to dip into a movie that we already talked about, and that is Captain America Winter Soldier. This is another Nick Fury moment, but I absolutely love this scene. And it's at the end of Winter Soldier as Nick Fury and Natasha hijack Shield headquarters, and they're taking down Robert Redford's character. I can't remember his name now, but they're taking him down. They're taking down Hydra, and Nick Fury has to. First of all, Nick Fury is supposed to be dead, and then the helicopter lands on top of the building, and out steps. All you see is his boots in the bottom of his cape, and you're just like, oh yeah, he's back. He's back. And now he comes in, and he's supposed to have retinal, a retinal code. So the system has to scan his eye.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, yeah, whatever. You probably blocked out my clearance a while ago. But how does he stay ahead? He keeps both eyes open, and then he takes off the eye patch and he scans the bad eye. And oh man, just a baller move by Nick Fury. That whole like ending sequence when he shows up in Winter Soldier is like, it's not my favorite part of the movie, but it gets slept on. I love that part of
No,
Winter Soldier.
It's a great little moment. It's so great.
All right, Trent. So you have one more pick. We're each going to pick one more scene. What you got for your final pick?
I think I gotta pick a non-fandom in a movie that you don't even have listed here that I forgot about till we were talking.
Oh, okay.
So there's a little thing that people may not know about Trent is that in addition to referring to himself in the third person, Trent loves a good shark attack movie. And people may know that in the 90s, Samuel L. Jackson starred in a little movie called Deep Blue Sea.
Yes.
If you've never seen Deep Blue Sea, let me give you a quick plot summary. It is about a research vessel in the ocean where they are trying to cure Alzheimer's by doing tests on sharks. But while they are doing these tests, they inadvertently give the sharks super intelligence. And so the sharks start to strategically hunt all the researchers, and mayhem ensues, of course. And then there's one pivotal scene where like two people have died, and they're in this room with like a little swimming pool in it. And Samuel L. Jackson walks up to the swimming pool and he turns around and he like puts on his most Samuel L. Jackson moment, and he gives this rousing speech of like, no, we're not going to panic. We are going to figure out how to do. We are going to get off this boat, and then we are going to. And as he's mid-speech, a shark just comes out of the water and eats him in half, and he's gone. Like Samuel Jackson's dead. And this is only like 20 minutes into a 2-hour movie, and it's just
oh my gosh,
it's one of the best motivational speeches, but also it's one of the best punchline jokes ever. That he just literally gets demolished halfway through it. And I think about that scene a lot, actually. So yes, I could have done something from Pulp Fiction, but I chose Deep Blue Sea instead.
You went with your gut, man, and I appreciate that. Always go with your gut, man. I love that pick. I came across this clip doing some research earlier for this episode today, and I thought it was nuts. I was like, "What?" I didn't realize it was only 20 minutes into the movie. That's wild.
It's so fast. It's so fast.
So funny. What is it called again? Deep Blue?
Deep Blue Sea.
Deep Blue Sea, man. That's incredible. Is it worth a watch, Trent?
I if you're in the right frame of mind, like if you're like like it's like, hey guys, what's a movie that we sort of want to watch seriously, but also can make fun of while we're eating pizza and hanging out? Like Deep Blue Sea.
Deep Blue Sea. Okay, all right. I'm gonna listeners find out wherever that's streaming, and if you have nothing else going this weekend, why not fire it up? Why not fire it up? Okay. My final pick, I feel like it wouldn't be right of me, because you're right. You said it. Absolutely, you could pick the Pulp Fiction scene right here, and I feel like most people know it, and most people know this scene too. But what's more important to me, and I couldn't let a Samuel L. Jackson draft go, and me not pick a Mace Windu scene. So I am picking. It's not a great moment for him, but I am picking the scene where Mace Windu arrests Chancellor Palpatine at the end of Revenge of the Sith. And yes, he goes out kind of sad. I'm not going to lie. Because, first of all, you've got, let's just paint the picture, okay? Mace Windu, Kit Fisto, and who is it? Is it Ki-Adi-Mundi? No. It's, is it Plo Koon? Is he the other Jedi that shows up?
I forget what his name is. He's the one that has like the horns coming off the sides.
Yes.
Yeah, I forget that his
You got name. 3. It doesn't matter, but you got 3 baller Jedis. High status. Mace Windu is second in command to Yoda, showing up to the Chancellor's chambers, and they all go out so quick. And it's just Palpatine does his screech spin in the middle of the air. I mean, that's the thing is with the scene with Samuel L. Jackson, Ian McDermott still finds a way to steal it for
Oh yes,
a
he
hot
does.
second there. And then Anakin storms in, and you've got Palpatine backed up against the wall, and then all of a sudden you just hear the unlimited power screech, and Samuel L. Jackson is trying to convince Anakin, don't you see, this man is wrong, he's evil, and he gets electrocuted with the Palpatine lightning, and he falls to presumably his death. And this is where I make the pitch that Mace Windu is not actually dead, he's alive. And in this era of streaming where there's far too much content out there, there are too many Star Wars shows. But my pitch in this moment now is make Boba Fett season 2. Just do it. It wasn't, season 1 was not that good, but season 2 can just be about Boba Fett's revenge on Mace Windu. Show us that Samuel L. Jackson's Mace Windu is still alive out there in the universe. That's my final pick.
I love it. I love it.
A great moment for sure. Any scenes that didn't get picked here that you feel like deserve a mention, Trent?
I mean, I feel like I gotta give, since I talked it up so much, I gotta give some love to Coach Carter. Like that first
Yeah,
scene where he's
yeah.
like walking in the high school gym and they're like, "Who is this guy?" And he's like such a square, and he's like, "No, we're gonna be gentlemen, and like we're gonna do this. We're gonna do it properly." It's just such a great like, oh, these kids like think they hate him, but by the end of this movie, they're gonna love him. I think that's a vastly underrated Samuel L. Jackson performance and movie. So
Yes.
I gotta give some love to Coach Carter.
I watched that movie for the first time last year and loved it. It is phenomenal.
It's so good.
I honorable mention for me is the villain he plays in the Kingsman movies,
Yes,
the
I'm glad
second
you
movie.
talked about this.
Gosh, Kingsman Secret Service, and the scene I was just reminded of earlier. He walks up to Harry and
Mhm.
he's giving his villain monologue of like, you know, those movies when the villain is like he elaborates way too much and he tells his dark twisted plan, and that gives the hero so much time to like develop his equally twisted plan to escape. Well, this isn't one of those movies, and then he just shoots him point blank,
Yep.
and it's just hilarious.
No, it's
Uh,
it's one of the best like villain performances in the last like 10 years, honestly.
oh,
Is
okay, all right,
Valentine. No, it's so
yeah,
good.
he's great. He's great. Okay, Trent. Well, that takes us to the end of our little induction ceremony. So Samuel Jackson, we've talked so much about him, and my final question is to you is how will Samuel Jackson be remembered, you know, as an actor, as just a presence in fandom, and then we can choose whether we will induct him into our Stinger Hall of Fame.
No, I think first and foremost, he'll be sort of remembered as this larger than life presence. I mean, this is a man who somehow made like a curse word, a like tagline and a catchphrase that will forever be associated with him.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
it's kind of insane when you think about it, actually. Um, and no, just the fact that he was in like so many iconic things like Star
yes.
Wars, Marvel, and again Jurassic Park, which like people forget about, but like the "Hold on to your butts" is an iconic quote. Um, but I think what also impresses people about Samuel Jackson is that like you can kind of if you don't think about it, you can kind of forget that he's like a genuinely great actor with these smaller parts in Coach Carter, and things of that nature, and the stuff that he's done with Spike Lee. Really chilling performance in Django Unchained, actually, that I think is also really good.
Yeah,
And
yep.
so yeah, no, of course he can do the cussing thing and the action thing, and he definitely has that raw charisma. But the fact that he also is just witty and
Hmm.
can do the sensitive stuff too, I think just makes him so multidimensional, and your eyes are just locked to him whenever he's on screen. That yeah, I think film history is going to remember him for a long time.
Yes. Oh, a very long time. And I feel like I feel like he's been doing it for so long, but he's not done. You know,
Yeah,
he's like not even close to being done. I think that's the thing. Two things for me I'll add is his longevity. The fact that he's been doing this since, you know, the early 90s, and like truly as a star, and he hasn't let up in those 30 years is like pretty incredible. And then I think the fact that he is known hand in hand with his characters in a way that not many actors are. You can think of, you know, you can actually that Robert Downey Jr. is not a great example, but there are other actors where you can know them for the hero they portray. Maybe even like a Scarlett Johansson as Black Widow. Like you could see her as Black Widow, but like you could also know her for all of the other things she's done, and now you can see Florence Pugh kind of take over that mantle. And Samuel Jackson is different. I don't know if we'll ever be able to dissociate him from all of his iconic roles, because he just embodies his persona kind of just becomes that character, and it's a really really like special thing that not many people can do. All right. I feel like this is an easy answer, but do we induct Samuel Jackson into our Stinger Hall of Fame?
I can think of nobody better to be the very first initiant into the Stinger Hall
Yes.
of Fame than Samuel L. Jackson. Yes.
That's right. Yes, our first inductee. It's a yes for me too, Trent. Oh man, this is great. I'm so glad we're doing this, and we can start keeping tally of who's in our Hall of Fame. So Samuel Jackson is our first iconic actor in the Stinger Hall of Fame. And man, we can't wait to start inducting some other movies, characters, other actors, TV shows. The Stinger Hall of Fame, Samuel L. Jackson, our first inductee. Right, so if we're doing a new type of episode, a new series called Hall of Fame, we got it. We got to keep y'all in the loop about what we're currently watching too, right? So that is our new segment, the Watcher's Domain, where us, your Stinger hosts, get to tell you what current things we are watching in a spoiler-free way, give you little mini reviews. And you just heard me and Trent break down Samuel Jackson's career. Well, we're tagging in Joseph. This is a WWE tag in moment. Joseph, welcome to the Watcher's Domain. How you doing, buddy?
Glad to be back. It's been a while since I've been on anything on the podcast. I think I don't remember the last episode I was on, but
It would have been the Indiana Jones recap, right?
That's right.
Yeah, that's right. It was the Indiana Jones recap. So I'm glad to be back.
It's glad to have you back, man. And for those that aren't in our call every single week to record our episodes, we have not been able to see Joseph's face. He's had some technical difficulties over the past several stretch of time, and today we can see his face. So just know there's extra energy popping off the cameras today. And so with that, Trent, what you been watching lately, and tell us what you think about it.
Yeah, so of course I've been watching because, this is a very fandom podcast and I like the fandom stuff in general. I have been keeping up to date with the Disney Plus latest series, Secret Invasion, good old Nick Fury. And I would say overall I'm liking the show.
Okay.
I'll start out with the good positives. I do like the spy atmosphere, of course, big fan of Winter Soldier, so I'm loving all the spy shenanigans. Really big fan of what Samuel L. Jackson and Ben Mendelsohn are doing performance-wise and the stuff between Nick Fury and Talos. I think that's the strongest thing about the show so far. My issue with the show is that I don't really get what the story's supposed to be thematically, if that makes sense. Like, I know literally what's happening on screen, but I don't know what the story's actually about. Like, Spider-Man Homecoming was about, like, Peter accepting that he needed to be a ground-level hero. Whereas this one, I'm like, I don't know what they're trying to say. They just keep saying that Nick Fury's not the same and that he's old. And I'm like, okay, and anything deeper about that? So I'm a little disappointed in the lack of thematic coherence, I guess is what I'm trying to get at. But other than that, I'm really enjoying it week to week. And again, the performances are enough right now that it's really carrying me through.
Joseph, I know you're all caught up. So what you think about it?
Yeah, I agree some with Trent. I've been liking it. He's right about the spy atmosphere being really cool. I've kind of liked Gravik, the villain, although you don't really know exactly what he's going for other than kill all the humans because he hates Nick Fury.
Yeah.
But I've been enjoying it, and I think the strongest part of the show is they've played up a lot of the mystery of like, okay, who's a Skrull, who's not. if they're a scroll, are they a good one? Are they a bad one? I think that's been a good part of the show. But yeah, I mean, overall, I've been enjoying it. It's been Marvel's had a better stretch now with Guardians 3 and Secret Invasion than they had been having. They were kind of on a little bit of a downer streak. And then, of course, looking at what some of the superhero movies that have come out this year have done, you know, I guess I'm good with, yeah, this show is all right, considering there's been some just trash come out.
You're absolutely right. I'm only 2 episodes in, so I can't speak to maybe the same depth as you all, but I feel pretty on par with you guys. The first episode, I was honestly really nervous. The first episode was very shaky to me, and the second episode seemed to smooth things out, and it started to take on a theme, so to speak, as you guys talked about. And I think Marvel's good with espionage and spy thriller as a genre. But yeah, I can attest to everything you all have already said. Joseph, what you want to tell us about today?
Well, before I went overseas to Nicaragua, I went and saw Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny.
Yes, you did.
I liked it. It was better than the Crystal Skull. Some of its weaknesses are, it's just kind of disheartening to see Indiana Jones be old. I mean, he is old, and he is really broken down at the beginning of the movie. Well, not quite at the beginning of the movie. The beginning of the movie is the World War II flashback, which was actually really good. The CGI de-aging on Harrison Ford was really good. It was strange seeing like a Last Crusade era Harrison Ford with like now Harrison Ford's voice. It didn't line up all the way, but it ended up working out okay. You got used to it pretty quick. The scene happened exclusively at night, so the lighting kind of helped with the CGI. But it was a fun opening set piece, like a classic Indiana Jones. If you see in the trailer, there's like a train heist. That was good. Then you jump into the present day. I know there's been some people that have kind of complained about Phoebe Waller-Bridge's character in the movie. I enjoyed her. Mm-hmm. I didn't really have any problems with her. I think the most controversial thing about the movie is the dial that is talked about in the title. They do some interesting things with it that I don't think totally work. It didn't ruin the movie for me, but it was weird. It was out there. I think it was a moderately satisfying movie that, if anything, kind of corrected some of Crystal Skull. But it did some things related to Crystal Skull that I didn't like. I think you'll see those as you watch the movie. There's some things they take from Crystal Skull and do stuff with, and I was like, no, that's not working for me, Chief. But overall, I enjoyed the movie. I went with my parents. They both liked the movie. I almost got through every Indiana Jones thing before watching the movie.
Really?
I watched all the episodes of Young Indiana Jones except for one. And I did
gosh.
I didn't get to watch Crystal Skull.
That's impressive, Joseph.
That's
very impressive.
I watched like 21 90-minute Young Indiana Jones episodes and then the first 3 movies.
Dang.
The last Young Indiana Jones that I didn't watch has a framing story that's set after Last Crusade. So that's why I didn't watch that one.
Oh, okay.
We kind of decided, not quite last minute, to go on a Saturday afternoon, or I would have gotten everything done. Yeah, overall, Dial of Destiny, enjoyed it. I will buy the Blu-ray to put with my Indiana Jones Complete Adventures set.
Oh, you have to.
It was good. I could see myself rewatching it every once in a while, but there are some controversial choices that I don't think everybody has liked.
Yeah.
And the movie has not done well at the box office.
No.
It's not really done well with critics. It's done fairly decent with fans. I thought Mads Mikkelsen as a villain was fine. There were just some weird story choices that they did. I think the two best Indiana Jones movies follow kind of religious artifacts, like Judeo-Christian artifacts. I think that's where some of its strengths lie. The dial is somewhat based in history, but with like a fantastical sci-fi thing with it. So I think it kind of works. Definitely works better than the Crystal Skull because it's not aliens. Overall, though, I enjoyed my time at the movie theater watching Indiana Jones.
Okay.
Destiny. And
that's good.
And the very ending, like the very ending of the movie, had something that I wanted to happen, or something that I didn't want to happen, didn't happen. if you can take it that way.
Okay. Well, that's good.
I think your enjoyment of the movie will depend on how you like what they do with the dial.
That's fair. That's fair. So Trent and I have not seen it, so this is great that we get to hear your perspective first. But you're right. The box office numbers aren't great. The perception has been kind of mixed as well. I was worried it was going to be poor perception based on early reviews, but I feel like people still enjoyed it from what I've heard. I don't know, Trent, have you heard similar things?
Yeah, I mean, I've heard that, because obviously it was the big thing where they premiered it at Cannes.
Yes.
And it kind of famously didn't get like a big standing ovation, and the initial critic reviews were like that it's like terrible, and like people were really nervous. And then like as it like the week before it started to come out, I was starting to see more mixed, not universal praise, but I was like people being like, oh yeah, like I see what's bugging people, but it's not that bad. And like they did what they thought they needed to do. And so yeah, I definitely plan on still checking it out at some point. I don't know, if I'm being honest, if I'm racing out to the theaters to check it before it exits theaters.
So Trent, you remember we were talking about the big action set pieces in the first three movies that were really good. This one doesn't really have a huge set piece like the first few movies. There's like 3 or 4 just car chase scenes in the movie, which is one of the minor critiques I have with it. The chases get very repetitive.
Interesting.
And the opening action sequence in the World War II flashback are pretty good, but there's not a huge set piece that's unique like some of the other movies have.
Interesting.
But, I mean, the thing with it is, I think if you like the first 3 movies, you will at least like this one. What did it start out with at the film festival, like a 40% on Rotten Tomatoes?
Something
like that, yeah.
That is not. I know that it's kind of like what do the critics think of that? If it's like a thumbs up or thumbs down, and then you take the percentage of the thumbs up versus the thumbs down. But I don't think the 41 is fair. I think it's at like a 65 or something now, and I'm like, yeah, that seems about right.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Yeah, see, I'm with Trent. I'm like, I don't know if I'm racing out to the theaters. There's a lot of other stuff to see right now. But I love Indiana Jones, and so it's it's kind of been killing me that I haven't seen it yet, if I'm going to be completely honest, because
So
it's just such a big pop culture moment too.
so I haven't seen any of the Mission Impossible movies, but if you're a fan of the Mission Impossible movies,
Yeah.
there is no sequence in this movie like Tom Cruise jumping a motorcycle off of a cliff. It's just not
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, we were
Right.
talking about
So,
that earlier too. Like that specific stunt that Tom Cruise is pulling. So I have a feeling that ticket might get bought first, and for me,
yeah, I
I
would
don't know.
say, and just based on the reception that this new Mission Impossible movie is getting, I would say, yeah, you're probably better off seeing that one in a theater. It's kind of like the, I mean, it's a Tom Cruise thing, but like you had to go see Top Gun Maverick in the
Yes.
movie theater. It's like
Yes.
that's a perfect movie theater movie.
Yes.
Um,
Yes, exactly. Do you think so? Last question on this, and then I'll tell you what I've been watching. Is do you think Dial of Destiny is something that can be equally enjoyed at home?
yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I think you'll enjoy it, but it the allure of seeing it in the movie theater is just seeing Indiana Jones
And okay.
on the
Okay.
big screen.
Okay.
It's not a very it's not a you need to see this on a huge screen to really take in everything that's happening, because even the chase scenes are very focused, and you see it in the trailer.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
scene where Harrison Ford is like jumping between cars in this chase scene, and you're like, yeah, that's not him, because there's other scenes in the movie. Can I give you a very, very, very small spoiler about something that happens in the beginning of the movie?
Sure. Spoiler
So,
warning for the guests, but go for it.
so you see in one of the trailers when Sympathy for the Devil starts playing, that Indiana Jones like jolts awake in his recliner. So he's sitting in his recliner. This is the very opening of the movie, right after the World War II flashback. He's sitting in his recliner in his underwear, and it's not Sympathy for the Devil playing. I don't remember what song it is, but he's living in an apartment in New York, and his neighbor downstairs starts playing really loud rock music, and he puts like a wife beater on and grabs a baseball bat and goes and starts beating on the door and is like, turn that racket down.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh man, this guy, he's old.
It's different, man. It's just not the same when Harrison Ford is where he's at, right? It's different.
It's something else. But
yeah,
I enjoyed the movie. You're not missing anything if you watch it at home.
Okay. That's what I need. Thank you, Joseph. I needed to know. Honestly, there's a lot of movie tickets that will be bought. I'm currently planning my Oppenheimer Barbie double feature experience this weekend. So,
Oppenheimer looks good.
It does. It looks very, very good. All right. So my turn now, and I'm here to talk about something that I feel it's definitely not going to jump up to the charts the same way that the past two things we've talked about have. But you may have seen it. You may be watching it. And if not, I can't wait to get you excited for the Apple TV Plus series Silo. I just started it this weekend. Me and Haley are 2 episodes in. And it's a 10-episode series. So there's a long way to go. But after 2 episodes, I can tell you that I'm so in on this show. I can give you the premise, and it is that there's a whole civilization of people living in a silo underground, and they don't know how they got there or why they're there, because people have been living here for 140 years. Their history is completely gone. There seems to be a story about rebels and founders, and there's a lot of mystery shrouded in why these people are here. But the general belief is that the outside world is unsafe for humans to live in now. And so because of that, there's a group of characters who start questioning why they are not allowed to know any information, and hijinks ensue, and they got to figure out, can they live in the world outside of the silo? It is it's dystopian. It is truly fantasy and sci-fi kind of hybrid. It's a fantasy sci-fi kind of hybrid in terms of genre, but it's I believe it is based on books, like originally a short story, and then there are a collection of books I believe it's based off of as well. It's starring Rebecca Ferguson. Rashida Jones also stars in the first episode. I I personally am hooked. I just love a concept like this that involves a lot of mystery, that involves a lot of world building. There's so much world building in these first two episodes that I'm just enthralled in it. It like a weakness for me is you show me a fantastical world of some kind for me to get really entrenched in, and like that's what this show is. So I'm really really enjoying it so far. I'll keep the podcast updated as we make our way through the finals, the rest of the episodes in season 1. Trent, I know you have watched more episodes than I, so do you have anything to add on to my little mini silo review?
No, I agree with you that the world building is really great. Yeah, like just like how since the people who are alive at this point in time in the silo have literal no memory of what the outside world is or was, and like what even common objects are. Like it's not a spoiler, but like at one point a Pez dispenser becomes
Yes.
a Keith, and like none of these people know what a Pez dispenser is.
I know. I thought that was so funny.
Yeah, and so I think it's really cool world building. I'm like you, Josh, where it's like if you give me a cool detailed world that somebody just built up in their brain, I'm like
Yes.
that's incredible.
I'm
Rebecca
hooked.
Ferguson's great. I don't want to influence you or anybody else, Josh, too much. I do think the pacing of the show is a little bit off.
Okay.
There's a lot of like atmosphere and world building, but not actually moving the plot forward that held it back for me.
Interesting. Okay.
There's an episode that Emily, Matt, and I loved. I think it's the 4th one, where it is one of the most like tense and focused and pressurized plot scenarios I've seen on TV in a long time. That's really really good. That was my favorite episode of the season.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I'm curious to see where they go from here after finishing season 1.
Oh, so you have finished season 1?
Yeah, Emily, Matt, and I just finished it a couple days ago.
Nice. Okay, cool.
Yeah, no, really excited to see where it goes. Apple TV, man, they've when they joined the streaming game, everybody kind of laughed between Ted Lasso, Shrinking,
Yes.
For All Mankind, and now Silo.
Silo, yeah.
They got a lot of good stuff on there. So yeah, I'm curious to see where it goes.
Yeah, me too, man. Me too. Well, I think that's going to do it for our discussion on Samuel Jackson and all things that we are watching. Trent, Joseph, thank you so much. It's been a blast, and we will be back soon. I can't exactly tell you what we're going to be talking about, but know that you'll be seeing a lot more content from the Stinger. So thank you all for listening. Go subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Follow us on social media, and we'll be talking to you soon.